Hello, I'm Athena from Meticulous ink, and today we will be discussing inks. So I'm going to be talking about quite a few different inks to give you a bit more background and geeky information about inks. So first of all, we're going to talk about Meticulous ink, which is our own ink named after the shop, which is Iron Gall ink. And it's based on a medieval recipe, and in medieval times it would be made of oak galls, which are sort of the knobbly bits from oak trees, and they would be ground down. Now they use a sort of chemical compound version, and this is lovely, refined, very sort of thin ink, and it means you can get really, really fine upstrokes. And we had this made because we couldn't find anything just right, and we found this ink, and it is really, really lovely. So as you write with it, it first writes quite pale, and as it dries, it reacts to air and light, so it kind of oxidizes, and it gets darker over time. And it dries really, really matte and very, very sort of velvety, and has a beautiful, very, very subtle texture to it. And it's just really, really lovely. So it has a lovely, even colour to it. And as you can see here, you get really, really lovely fine lines from it. So that is our very own Meticulous ink. So hopefully you should be able to see how thin the ink is actually. And it's got a sort of a blue-grey colour to it when it's in the pot, which is very, very lovely. Okay, I'm going to do some lines now. So you can see when you first start writing with it, you can, it has a sort of transparency to it, but as it dries, that will all even out wonderfully, and it'll be really, really black. Our Meticulous Iron Gall ink only comes in black, so if you're wanting to do coloured ink, then I'm going to show you some Dr. P.H. Martin's Bombay ink. This is a really, really good light fast and waterproof ink. So once it dries, it is waterproof. So it's quite good if you're planning on doing sort of watercolour washes or things like that to make it, a more decorative item. Now these do come in a bottle that has quite a small neck, which I find is not very compatible with nibs, especially if you're using an oblique nib holder. So I always transfer my ink into a wide-necked pot. It's much easier for doing your calligraphy, and just speeds things up a little bit. So these do come with a pipette in the lid. If you do use it straight out of the bottle, you can actually pipette your ink onto your nib. So this ink will, if you've used our Meticulous Iron Gall ink, this ink will feel a little bit thicker. So you can see the finer lines are actually thicker than with the Iron Gall ink, but you still get a good difference between your thicker downstrokes and your thinner upstrokes. These inks come in lots and lots of different colours, which is really, really lovely. I'm a big fan of the golden yellow. It's a really happy colour. So I've got crimson here, and we've also got green and violet. It comes in lots and lots of lovely, beautiful shades. Next, we're going to talk about metallic ink. Now, metallic ink actually has fine particles of metal inside, which gives that lovely shimmer. As you can see, all the metallic particles sink to the bottom of the jar when not in use. Now, as you're using it, you will need to keep shaking it up to keep those metallic particles in your writing. So whenever you're using metallics, always give them a good shake. So you'll be able to see if all the sediment has come off the bottom. There we go. And now you can see the beautiful metallic gold colour. So as you're writing, the metallic particles will start to sink again. So it is quite good if after, say, every 5 or 6 words, you then put the lid on and give it a good shake. And that is why metallic ink does take quite a bit longer to write with than any other inks. So you can see that beautiful shimmer in there. So metallic ink, again, is much thicker than coloured ink and much thicker than iron gall ink. So you can see as you write, it's almost slightly raised off the page. That will flatten out once it dries. So metallic ink you do kind of need to be a bit more delicate with because it is that bit thicker. Next, I'm going to show you some white ink. Now this is again Dr. P.H. Martin's pen white ink, which is really, really lovely. Again, it comes in a smaller necked bottle, so I do find transferring it into a wide neck bottle is a lot easier. This is really, really good ink. It's actually designed for drawing pens to help if it almost acts like Tipp-Ex in a drawing pen, but it is very, very wonderful for doing opaque calligraphy with. So that means you can draw onto coloured paper. So I've got a lovely sheet of red paper here, and we're going to take a look, see what it looks like. The pen white ink is, again, a lot thicker. So you have to be extra careful. But it's really, really lovely and opaque and shows really, really well on coloured paper. Lastly, I'm going to talk about the difference between calligraphy ink and normal fountain pen ink. This is J. Herbin fountain pen ink, and I'm just going to show you the difference between the fountain pen ink and calligraphy ink. So fountain pen ink is generally a lot runnier than calligraphy ink. Now the reason for that is calligraphy ink is thicker, so that it actually adheres to the nib. With fountain pen ink, obviously it needs to flow out of the fountain pen. You can use fountain pen ink for calligraphy, however, you may find that it's a bit too thin. This is showing why you don't use fountain pen ink. And it might blob, like that. Boo-hoo! So do try and make sure that you are using calligraphy ink. Now, if you haven't got any calligraphy ink, you can potentially use fountain pen ink. You can first try leaving your fountain pen ink open overnight, and hopefully it will evaporate. So it does thicken up a little bit. Just make sure you do give it a shake every now and then. Alternatively, you can use gum arabic, which is available in most art shops, which is a thickening agent. So you can add that to your ink, which will thicken up and mean that you can use it for calligraphy. So otherwise, I would very much recommend using calligraphy ink. Thanks for watching. Please leave a comment and let me know what kind of ink you're using. And please do subscribe for more calligraphy and paper-based tutorials. Thank you very much for watching.